Today's show is dedicated to two of my longtime friends and colleagues from Chicago, as we have also lost Mr. Mark Kruger as well as Mr. Alvin Washington. May they both rest in heaven, and may they both continue to call games from above and send us their never-ending spirit, their never-ending laughter, and their never-ending love for sports. Those are two of my Chicago homies, and I love them both. Let's go. Thing is, until you can erase 3 Februaries, shut up. Bang! Quality over quantity. LeBron has beaten some of the best competition in NBA history. He's the GOAT emoji. I will not cuss. I will not cuss. I will not swear. I will not swear.
Where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. This is the Brian Snow Show.
Good afternoon to everyone as we welcome you to the latest and the greatest edition of the Brian Snow Show, where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. We're presented by BetUS.com and Invader Coffee. We're here to bring you the best in sports analysis, stories, and pure, unadulterated entertainment. I'm Brian, and we'll take you on a journey that celebrates the power of sports to uplift, inspire, and unite us all. Man, I got a loaded show for you on this afternoon. And again, thank you all for joining me. And thank you all for being there with me as I had a very difficult weekend on the loss of a dear, dear friend, Alvin Washington. And as I said at the top of before we began the top of the program, one of my other Chicago broadcasting friends, Mark Kruger, has also passed away at the age of 57. So we're going to continue to celebrate them both by doing what we do, pushing forward through all of the pain, through all of the suffering, and through everything that the devil tries to throw at us. You want to talk about a knuckleball that's thrown at somebody? Stop me if you've heard this one before. A man gets accused of a crime, does not get due process or due justice, and is being allowed by the people involved to sit and rot in jail while his story, his true story, is not being told. And if it is told, it's being swept under the rug. Meanwhile, as a wife, you're basically being forced to hold the whole fort down until, well, let's call it the way they'll call it, a miracle happens. I have such a story for you this afternoon. And when she sent me this story, when my guest sent me this story, I was absolutely floored. But I was also excited to say, come on down. I'd love to have you. And as it turns out, she is a big fan of the defending NFC champion and NFC East champion, Philadelphia Eagles. I will greet her right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Eagles diva herself, Mrs. Cierra Cobb. She joins me right now. How are you doing, my dear?
I am good, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, there's one thing I need to do before we get going. knowing you're a big Eagles fan and we talked off the air, there are three words I said to you, and they sound like this. Let's hear it.
EAGLES, Eagles.
How are you, my dear? It is wonderful to have you this afternoon.
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me on your show.
Man, listen, you tie in sports to what has been what should be a story of suffering, but it's a story I'm going to use to uplift. And I've taken this show and I'm leaning away from sports, but using it to tie everything together. When I read your bio, I was floored. I was absolutely floored with what you're going through right now. And it has got to be the toughest thing that you're dealing with right now, that your partner in life has been wrongfully convicted and incarcerated. And does it seem like, and I've gone through this in many, many different ways, does it seem like you're alone in the fight to get him free?
Yeah. I know I'm not the only one, but it's a very hard battle. It's easier to convict somebody than to prove your innocence. And so the innocence battle is a very long, hard one, just due to the laws that we have in America where they make it hard on you to go back and, get your justice that you deserve. And so my husband is currently incarcerated in North Carolina, and he's incarcerated for a crime that he did not commit. All the evidence shows that he had no culpability in the crime that they claim he committed, but it was kind of I guess a vendetta they had towards him because he had been in and out of the system, kind of had a rough life, grew up in CPS, and so was shuffled around a lot, and so kind of ended up in the streets. It's just that the fact that he was kind of in and out, they didn't, how they do with people of color. They basically give you a label and they stick that label to you. And so they stuck that label to him and just swore up and down that he had something to do with this crime and had nothing to do with it at all. And so he got the worst of the worst. When it came to the time, he got the most out of all of the 5 co-defendants that was charged.
Can you tell us what the crime was, or is there a certain order? What was the crime that he was accused of?
It was felony. Well, first he was charged with capital felony murder and attempted armed robbery, and he was later forced to plead down to second-degree murder with attempted armed robbery.
Forced to plead down.
Mm-hmm.
I hate hearing that, because it doesn't allow him to tell his story. Am I on the ball here?
You're correct. You're absolutely correct.
When you're forced to plead to some, and I've heard this so many times before living in Chicago, when you're forced to plead down to a lesser charge, your story gets thrown under the bus and it doesn't get a chance to be told in front of a judge, in front of a jury. They just immediately sweep you into jail. And the toughest thing is getting your story heard. And I know that's been the toughest thing for you, getting his story heard, because of all of the labels. And to bring back what you said, because of all of the labels that were just like forced upon him, because of the rough life that he grew up, in, that label is just thrust upon him. Oh, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. And then when they sweep him into the system again, illegally, I might add, because this is totally illegal, not giving him a chance to tell his story, it's like they get the nod of, see, I told you so, and they don't look at what really happened. And look, I've had a label bestowed upon me. It's called disabled. After I kicked pancreatic cancer in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And the state of Indiana won't help me in any way, shape, form, or fashion outside of the care that my wife has to research and get and tell me, you have to help yourself and be your own advocate.
Mm-hmm.
That part of the message I finally got. All
Mm-hmm.
right. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
part of the message where the state has kicked me down, the federals kicked me down. And you said North Carolina. You know who told my wife to get ready to put me in a casket? The Duke Cancer Center.
Go figure. Go figure. That's why I'm a Carolina fan.
So you look, Michael Jordan made me a Tar Heel for life. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan, James Worthy, Sam Perkins, Kenny the Jet Smith. Do I need to say any more?
Hey, we got a whole line full.
Do I need to say any more?
You don't need to go no further.
Cierra Cobb joining me this afternoon as we tell her story and her husband's story. We're telling her husband's story also. Man, when that gavel slammed down and your husband was forced away without his truth and the truth being told, immediately what went through your mind?
Well, I wasn't there when it actually happened. I was following the story, but me and him were not together. Me and my husband actually dated when we were younger, so we have history. It's not just like I met him and got married.
Right.
We dated when we were younger, and at the time that this happened, I was actually in another relationship, but I did follow it because it was all on TV, like on every news station.
Mm-hmm.
So I followed it for a while, and so we reconnected back in 2019. And when I talked to him, I wanted to hear his side of the story because we all know when media puts out, they put out, what they want you to know and not
Exactly.
And so he told me, and then he sent me his paperwork. And so I went through it and I was just like, wow, like they really railroaded you because there was not sufficient evidence. If you would have went to trial, if your lawyer would have allowed you to go to trial, I don't honestly think that there would have been enough sufficient evidence to prove you guilty on that capital murder case. And so I was just floored to see that, so many other people, because not only has he been through this situation, but I'm an advocate and I do this on a daily. I've seen somebody else go through this situation. And because I was on his side at that time, which was back in 2021, I was able to advocate, and he had the exact same charges as my husband. Everything was the exact same, like no evidence of him actually committing that crime besides a co-defendant saying that he was there, and that was really it. And the victim, who had already, had been battered. I don't think people understand that when you go through a traumatic situation, your brain kind of protects you. So it's a lot of things you can't really remember. But yeah, I was able to advocate for him and just humanize him and put his story in the media and had his family tell his side of the story. And so his outcome was that he was not charged with capital murder. They tried to take him back for second-degree murder, and then they did give him a plea deal, but he got a nice plea deal. He had, I think, 14 years. He's already done 6, so he has like 9 to do, which he could have got life plus 20 because he had another charge as well. So just seeing the difference when you have somebody that can advocate for you and when you have somebody that doesn't, that, the state can just sweep you up under their rug. I mean, sweep you up under their arms and just put you in a prison. And, you really have, especially when you take a plea, you give up all rights to appeal anything. Like you have no more rights when you sign a plea as well.
Yeah. And going back to what you said just a few moments ago, he was forced into this plea deal. So basically forced to give up his rights and basically give up the right to tell his story or have a chance to really tell his story. When you're forced to give up your rights, and I know you felt this, when you're forced to give up your rights, it just seems like the soul has just been ripped out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's hardly any way to get it back unless he has the opportunity to tell his story. And this is just, like I said, when I read your bio, I was floored when all this happened. And now hearing this, I'm even more floored. And I feel for him with all the labels that have let's just be real. Let's just be real in 2023, okay? The media doesn't want to say this aloud, so I'll say it aloud. There is a war against men going on right now. Men's rights are being challenged. Men's opportunities are being challenged in every way, shape, form, or fashion. And I can feel everything that your husband is going through, just in a different matter with my battle and subsequent victory against cancer, because I'm in remission, and I'm pleading with the state of Indiana. Look, I'm trying to support my family, and my wife's the only one working. Can you give me a hand here? Nope,
Mhm.
your wife makes too much money and you're healthy enough to go back to work. So go back to work. And that's all I get. And that's all I get. And look, like I said, I feel every bit of what your husband is going through in so many ways. I may not be incarcerated, but some days I feel like I'm incarcerated because I'm disabled and I can't get any damn help. And
And that's
it's
how it is for the Black and Brown community. It's hard to get any help with
it is.
anything medically, economically,
Yep,
housing. It's hard to get anything.
it is. It is. And I'm in an interracial relationship, so you already know I get the side eye 200 times more. And
Mhm.
especially when we lived in North Carolina. Now, a lot of people that we met were very, very cool, and they got to know us. They got to see how silly Jody is around me and I around her. But when fight against cancer, it just seemed like the list of people who are supporting us got smaller and smaller and
It's
smaller.
small.
And it
Mhm.
all started with the blood clots in both my lungs two
Hold on
years
one second. Hold on one second.
ago.
Hey.
Edit this out.
Sorry, that was Mr. UPS man. He
It's
wasn't
all
going
right.
to receive a package.
All right. 3, 2, 1. It just seemed like the list of people who want to help and support you, and they pleaded their help and support at the beginning, the list just got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mhm.
And it gets even smaller when you're told, when your significant other, my wife, was told to get your affairs in order. So we're driving back here to Indiana crying,
Right.
and my wife said, "The hell with this. I need you around." Fortunately, we found a lot of good care up in Indiana, and that brings up another curveball, which I found out the hard way when they kept telling me, you have to keep applying, you got to keep the pressure on them. So what? I kept the pressure on them, and each time I had a door slammed in my face.
Mhm.
And with your husband can feel this. Your husband, I know, feels the same way about this. Every opportunity you think that you would get to tell your story, they slam the door in your face.
Yep.
And when they slam the door in his face, they slam the door in your face as well.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. And so that's why I've been trying since 2019. I didn't know anything about law or anything, and so that's what gave me the passion to be an advocate for everybody else, to be the voice of the voiceless, because a lot of times you don't have nobody to stand up for you, and you can feel so helpless. And so just being his voice as well as being my own voice, because I had my own health issues. I was having seizures as well, and I went to Duke. I went to Greensboro. I went everywhere, and they were just like, "Oh, well, you have PTSD, and you're having seizures from that, and you'll be all right." And so, there was like, "There's no medicine for it," and so I was like, "Forget this! Like, I'm the one having seizures every day, like multiple seizures that are debilitating, whether it's epilepsy or whether it's from PTSD or whatever's causing it." And I had to go do my own research. I had to be my own advocate and go and start taking supplements, which has helped me a lot, as well as meditating and exercising. So sometimes you got to take things in your own hands. And so that's what I've been doing with his case. But this is a little more harder than, being an advocate for medical issues. Because, I mean, you need a lawyer. And so we've been trying to find some legal help that will help us. But everybody's, sees that plea deal and they run left. They're like, oh no, plea deal is so hard to overcome. And so every day I'm just trying to, really find somebody that believes in his innocence that will lead us. Or if not, maybe I have to do it. I'm actually going back to school now to go for political science, then hopefully go to law school so that I could be that change for somebody else who's in my shoes, who's trying to get help and can't get heard or can't get help, because it's important to help, your community to be a better community.
Why do the lawyers all run left when they see that plea deal and not even look at all of the evidence that was not stacked against him, but stacked against everyone else that's involved? Why do the lawyers run left when they see that plea deal?
Because a lot of lawyers just don't like to redo plea deals, because you really have to, put a lot of time and effort. You have to reinvestigate. And then, it depends on how long ago that the crime happened. And so a lot of them just don't want to put that time in. But I've talked to a few other people who have got themselves out on their own, and just, saying that most lawyers don't want to find the loopholes, because there's always a loophole somewhere, some way. There's always
Yeah,
a
there is.
loophole.
Yeah, there is.
And just, find the loophole to get him back in court. But, you just got to keep pushing. Eventually it's going to be somebody that is really going to, really listen and understand and see what I see as well.
Has it been tough to find that one or two or three lawyers that really believe to take on this case? And knowing how tough it's been, why do you think it's been that tough to find that one person that'll believe?
Because so many people in the United States are wrongfully convicted, and so it's not, in my opinion, it's not enough true advocates, because that's what a lawyer is. A lawyer is an advocate, and so it's not enough true advocates that will do whatever they can to get people home. Now there are a handful of them,
yeah,
but I mean, they got their plate full because they're actually trying to help other people get out, and so I just don't think it's enough people on that same plight that really want to get people free, because we have so many people that are wrongfully convicted in America, like so many.
When my wife and I lived in North Carolina, we discovered that in many ways it's more backwards than living in Indiana. And given the laws there, and given how segregated North Carolina still is, I mean that it still is. They don't want to, and I'm going to go ahead and put this out there because I believe speak ye the truth and shame the devil. They don't want to see true love. They don't want to see true Black love. And as I mentioned, we got side eyes from hell when we were in North Carolina, when Jody and I and my daughter Sonia, when we were in North Carolina. I mean, they see Jody and me, just cracking up with each other, being silly, being goofy. And when I tell you, my dear, that we got the side eyes from hell,
that is foreign to them. You hear me? That is so foreign.
Especially with me being in an interracial relationship, an interracial marriage. And I never looked at color. I looked at character. And I told this story, I would tell it here. The first time I heard Jody laugh while I was doing a football game, I was a goner.
She had you hooked.
Listen, she's had me hooked for the last 5 years.
And
I'm not changing a thing. And I'm not changing a thing. When we moved to North Carolina and got settled and got to know some of the places where we can be, and I got to know some of the schools that I would cover, being a play-by-play announcer. And when Jody was with me and she was pushing the buttons up in the booth, you want to talk about looks if looks could kill.
I believe it. Yeah.
Do I need to say anything else?
No,
Matter of fact,
you don't.
Folks, if you have not seen Jody and me, bingo.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
All right. Now, do I need to explain any further the side eyes we got when we lived in North Carolina?
Yeah. I mean, because I can tell you stories of living in one city where if they seen a black and white person, especially a couple, they would literally stop the white person and be like, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" Like, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But
Exactly.
that's how it
I
is here.
I tell this story off the air, and I'll tell it here, and I'm tying it into everything that my guest and now my friend is going through. When we went to a place called Cookout, in Raleigh, North Carolina, she had an hour lunch. Yeah, you know where this is going. She had an hour. Jody had an hour lunch, and she said, "Come get me. Let's go grab something to eat. We'll chill for a while, and then I'll go back to work." Cool. I zip over to her office. I pick her up. You know, everybody at her job just, I don't know, for some reason adored me. They see me coming in and I'm acting goofier than ever. And they hear her laugh, they hear me laugh. We go to Cookout and we take a look at what's on the menu. We hear the order. We hear the lady and the attitude they're in ask us to place the order. We're pulling around and Jody's driving. Okay, Jody's driving for lunch. We pull around, we get ready to pull around the window, and Jody looks at me and says, "Baby, get your card out of your wallet now." I didn't get it at the. Yeah, you know where this is going. I see the smile on your face. You know where this is going. Me, totally oblivious. I have my woman. We're having lunch. We're having time together. I'm happy. Mm-hmm. Jody clicked into it immediately. And she said, "Baby, get your card out of your wallet immediately." And then it hit me as we were pulling around to the drive-through window. You can hear the attitude. Do I need to say anything else?
No. I know. I know.
Do I need to say anything else?
Hey, unless you want to give them a good education, yeah, go ahead. Because some people don't understand that it still exists, especially in the South.
Man, you want to talk about attitude from hell. All right. And it's not just white people that gave us attitude. There were more black people that gave us attitude. And I'm talking about from here to Greensboro and back. That is what happened that afternoon. And you can tell that they hated hearing Jody's voice make the order. Now, mind you, we were in Raleigh when this happened. Pull around to the window, and the look on her face could throw 1,000 darts at me. And you wonder why we live through sports right now, to combat everything that's going on against society, against the true society.
And even in sports, it's there in sports. They don't talk about it as much, but it's definitely there in sports.
Listen, one of my favorite announcers is a good friend of mine, Robert Ford, the voice of the Houston Astros, radio voice. Another good friend of mine, Dave Sims, the TV voice of the Seattle Mariners. And I'm not supposed to have an idol. I don't care what color they are. If they inspire me, they inspire me.
Right.
Hell, the first voice I heard in Chicago was Jim Durham calling Bulls games.
Yep.
And I borrowed from him. You know, and one of my favorite voices is the radio voice of the Eagles, Merrill Reese. Love listening to him.
Yeah, I love Merrill.
Love Merrill Reese. All right.
Yeah.
But folks, I wanted to tell this story today to remind you not just to stick to what you do, but stick to what you believe in. Let your beliefs tell your story. Because if you don't let your beliefs tell your story, then you're going to be depressed. You're going to be miserable. You're going to wonder what the hell is going on with me. And those were all of my thoughts when I came out of surgery a year ago. But you gotta push through. You gotta keep pushing on. You have to. Because if you don't push through and you run into situations like what Sierra is going through, what I've gone through, and many others with me that with us that have gone through, then you're not going to develop the strength to push through any and everything that tries to sock you in the mouth.
Yeah.
And try to, man, it's just, I wanted to tell this story, and I'm so glad you agreed to come on this afternoon. Cierra Cobb joining me, Eagles aficionado. I'd love to have you on to talk some Eagles with me throughout the course of the season,
Let's
and have
do
you
it.
be one of my Eagles. Have you be one of my Eagles insiders. And before we go to a break, let's hear it, girl.
Eagles.
Cierra Cobb joining me this afternoon in the first part of the Brian Snow Show. My dear, it was a pleasure, and I'd love to have you back.
Thank you. I will greatly be back.
Thank you
so much,
Thank
Brian.
you so much. The Eagles diva, Cierra Cobb, joining me. Let's take a break, and when we come back, Alex Campbell will join me, and we're going to talk some sports. We'll be back. The thing is, until you can erase 3 Februaries, shut up.
Where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. This is the Brian Snow Show.
Hey y'all, Snowman here. Catch me, Cole Johnson, Wise El Jefe, Vicala, and the rest of the usual suspects and a few unusual suspects as we bring you 2 hours of the best sports talk you will ever watch and listen to. It's called Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Now on at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on CSTV and CSTVNow.com. Join us, won't you?
This planet has been great to me. It's given me gifts that I can't even explain. It's given me adventures and memories I'll never forget. And Battleborn, I think, has given me the opportunity to go beyond and give something back. How can I be a better custodian to this planet and the place I live? That's where I am with Battleborn. Let's make the planet a better place.
PK Tire Pro is your one-stop on-the-spot auto service headquarters for a complete line of quality tires and auto services. For years, we have provided the Stockton, California area with the latest products and unprecedented services for everything we sell. And for years, our customers have been coming back. Take a look around. If you don't find what you need, visit us in Stockton, California. From the latest and best in tire technology to the services required to keep your vehicle looking good and running great, PK Tire Pros can get you out on the road quickly and at an affordable price. Stop by soon to see why so many people consider PK Tire Pros to be the one-stop shop for all of their tire needs. At PK Tire Pros, our friendly and knowledgeable staff, quick and dependable service professionals, and affordable prices all come together to make driving out on a new set of tires easy. On top of that, we never tire of tires. Stop by and see us, and you'll be glad you did.
Where sports is the base, life and fun are the results. This is the Brian Snow Show.
Six after the hour on the Brian Snow Show. Glad to have y'all with us. You know, a lot of us sportscasters, we get started, just watching sports on television and thinking, hey, I can do better than them. So you mute the television and you call the game your way. That's how I got started a long time ago. And the fellow I'm going to bring to you right now got started the same way by calling the Steelers and the San Diego Chargers. Oh, yeah, there was an AFC championship on the line. That's how it started for this man. Please welcome from the Fired Up Network, Mr. Alex Campbell. How are you, my friend?
Snowman, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Steelers and Chargers, eh? That's how it started?
That's how it started. Steelers and Chargers, 1994 AFC title game. My beloved San Francisco 49ers is who they ended up playing. The Chargers in the Super Bowl. Mr. Stan Humphries, if we remember Mr. Stan Humphries.
Oh, I do.
The Chargers.
See, you had me at beloved San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I grew up a massive Steve Young fan, and by virtue of that, a 49ers fan. I was a left-handed quarterback growing up, and I just could not avoid that.
See, for me, the first quarterback that did it for me wearing a 49er uniform was the legend, Joe Montana.
Absolutely.
And then Steve Young showed up and showed out, and I played fantasy football one time in my life. It was 1998, and somehow I got lucky and I won the whole thing. My quarterbacks that year were Peyton Manning, and if you can believe it, Steve Young.
Really?
So all I had to think of was, when is their bye week, so I know to flip them.
Right.
And then the one game they played each other at Candlestick Park.
Oh God, Candlestick, yeah.
Why was there 700 yards of passing in that game? Because it's Peyton Manning and Steve Young.
Yeah.
Exactly. I had to pick a quarterback, so I closed my eyes and picked Steve Young, and by about 45 yards, I won that week. I don't know how I did it.
I mean, and to think, what I always think about with Steve Young, and I love that we just started off with this. This is amazing. What I always think about with Steve Young, at least now with 2023, is the get right now in the NFL, in my opinion, you may disagree, but my opinion is the get right now is a quarterback that can scramble, that can run, but doesn't want to run first. That doesn't run, that is a passer. Pat Mahomes can scramble. Absolutely. Doesn't run first. Steve Young would be an even more dynamic quarterback in today's NFL and be more in today's NFL than he was then.
That he would. Yeah. That he would, with that arm that he had and that accuracy. And remember, 94, he set a record for accuracy, and he was the leader, and he was the passing ratings leader in 1994. That was the second MVP year. Of course, the first was 1992 when he took over the 49er offense. And I'll never forget a line I read in Sports Illustrated when they compared Montana to Young. Montana running the West Coast offense felt like a symphony. Steve Young running the West Coast offense felt like a jam session.
Yep.
I can't find any lie in that statement.
No, you're exactly right. And the term that it's used for Russell Wilson all the time is playing basketball on grass. To me, that was Steve Young.
Exactly. That was Steve Young. And while we're talking about the 49ers, this year is going to be it ain't going to be interesting. It's going to be fun because Brock Purdy is the leader of that offense. I don't care what anybody says in the mainstream media. Oh, there's a quarterback controversy. No, there isn't. Brock Purdy is the leader of that offense. And if you look at the last 5 games where he started, they averaged 33 points a game.
Right.
Now, the first game he started against Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, they rang up 35 points before the third quarter was over.
Yeah.
What's the problem? And, Sam Darnold gets signed as an insurance policy for Frisco. I don't know what Trey Lance is trying to do. And I never believed in Trey Lance when I saw him play at North Dakota State. But they have recouped their capital. They got some undrafted free agents for the offensive line. And one of the offensive linemen that they signed that I want you to take a look at and talk about, there's a fellow by the name of Ilm Manning out of Hawaii. I looked at his film, and the first person, and I may be crazy in saying this, the first person that comes to mind when I see Ilm Manning on that offensive line is Jesse Sapolu. another Hawaii offensive lineman. Boy, he can fill several spots in that line while they get it together during the preseason. Can he not?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, look, his career back at Hawaii, he literally played all 5 positions on the offensive line. He actually played left tackle for most of it, which, as you know, is the hardest position on the offensive line. And now, the only concern I would have is he's not the most fleet of foot, which, I mean, a lot of offensive linemen aren't, right? So I don't think you can line him up in NFL, put him at guard, and watch him pull. I don't think that's a thing. But I do believe he is the 49ers center at future.
Yes.
I mean, center of the future.
Yes.
I really do.
I believe that too. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple shots at center this year and he gets entrenched at that position. The last 3 years, the offensive line of the 49ers, the interior part of the offensive line, has been a huge problem. But the last 5 games under Brock Purdy, he was barely touched. That line came together, and it came together fast when Purdy was named the starter. What do you think changed for that 49er offensive line after Purdy became the starter?
Oh, I think it's pretty simple. Garoppolo is not known to have the fastest release. You know what I mean? I think it's pretty simple. People underestimate how good Brock Purdy is.
Yes.
That's really at the end of the day what it is.
And they're still underestimating him. Even to this moment, they're still underestimating him.
They're still doing it. He goes what, 7-8-0. I mean, great touchdown interception ratio, better than by the way, Tom Brady's was when he was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant and then came out of nowhere.
Exactly.
So I mean, say what you want to say. Rookies don't play like that. I don't care.
No.
And you're out and the other thing that you touched on there is Trey Lance. Trey Lance played for a very small college, almost no real NFL competition whatsoever on the opposing roster.
Yep.
Brock Purdy played at Iowa State on a roster that was normally, in a lot of cases, the not the favorite in games they played against schools like Oklahoma and Texas.
Yep.
And he ended up balling out against those schools every single time. Purdy has been a leader and was a leader at Iowa State as a 4-year starter. This guy's got tons of game experience, and they keep calling him inexperienced. He proved it, in every start he made. They're calling, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like you said, he averaged 33 points. I mean, what rookie averages 33 points in an office and actually makes the offensive line play better? What is the key to any athlete and how good they are? You make others play better.
Yes, you make others play better. And no one wants to say that about Brock Purdy yet. But had it not been for an injury in Philadelphia, it'd have been a much closer NFC Championship game than what we got. But that Philadelphia defense, give them praise. That Philadelphia defense was savage all year long, just like the 49er defense. I'm already calling right now that it's going to be a rematch of Philadelphia and San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. It's just going to depend on where it's played. Do we have to go to South Philly, or do they come to us at Levi Stadium? Philly and San Francisco were the 2 best teams in the NFC all year last year. Remember, the Niners ripped off 10 in a row to close the season. And what I believe also is that you're going to have the West is going to go through Frisco, the East is going to go through Philadelphia, but we got to talk about this. Why are people still hyping the Cowboys when they have nothing to show that they're going to be competitive this year? Why is that?
Not only that. I think if you look at the preseason games, the starters are playing less and less as time goes on, as they make the schedule longer. I'll get to my point about the Cowboys with this. If you hear the reports out of the latest focused camp practice, Dak Prescott, what is he now? Close to a 7, 8, 9, 10-year veteran, something like that.
Yeah, 7-year veteran.
Threw 3 picks. 3 picks.
Yep.
In the drill.
3.
In the exhibition drill.
Yep.
Trayvon got 2. You know what I mean? He got 2 of them. And here's the thing. And if you peel back, I love the term peel back the onion. You peel back the onion on Dak Prescott.
Yep.
He's Kirk Cousins.
That's all. That's it. Thank you. I've been saying that for years.
The difference between Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins is you have a fan base that believes Dak is greater than he is, and you have in Dallas, and you have a fan base in Minnesota that knows what they have. That's it.
And what people seem to forget that over the course of the playoffs, we kicked both their asses.
Correct. And Dallas, look, Dallas in general has struggled under Jerry Jones since Jimmy. Okay.
Since Jimmy Johnson. Yep.
Since Jimmy J. and the triplets, and it has never been good since then, even with Bill
Nope.
Parcells, even with
Nope.
everything they've tried to throw at that. And now you got Mike McCarthy calling plays.
Oh God.
Godspeed, Dallas.
They're not. Listen, my partner Cole Johnson on Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson said that he wants the anarchy of the Cowboys finishing like 11-6 or 12-5 and getting obliterated in the wild card round. I want total anarchy. I don't want them to see the playoffs this year. And I looked at their schedule. I don't see any way in hell they make the playoffs this year. Am I far off?
No, I don't think you are. I think they're an 8-win team. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they're an 8-win team.
At best. At best, they win 8 games.
They're loaded. That roster is loaded and theoretically should be a playoff roster. But again, you have a defunct ownership group that cannot and has never stopped meddling.
Yep.
Okay? And by the way, the boat always rocks from the top down.
Yes, it does.
Always.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
And then you have Mike McCarthy, who does not have a sterling track record outside of a transcendent 2-time, actually, what is he, 2 or 3-time MVP quarterback?
Yep.
In one season, by the way, not multiple. One season. One season. Dak is not Aaron Rodgers. As much as I don't like Aaron Rodgers, Dak is not Aaron Rodgers.
Not even close.
You know, it's funny. Do you know Noah Brown, a wide receiver, used to play for Houston, used to play for Ohio State?
Yes.
He also played for the Cowboys as a rookie and with young Dak. Okay.
Yep.
He currently plays for the Houston Texans with CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And he was asked by a Texans beat reporter to compare the two because, you know, he played with both when they were young. And this is only a month or so into practice. And he said that CJ Stroud, has the potential to be even better than Dak, that he's more talented. And everybody acted like, oh, that's groundbreaking. It's not groundbreaking.
No,
CJ Stroud was a 5-star recruit that went to a football powerhouse. Dak Prescott got annihilated in college. And that's why, look, what he has is what Kirk Cousins has. He's a great character guy. He's got really high intangibles. He's limited as a quarterback.
He's, Dak Prescott has been limited since the day Mississippi kicked his ass all over the place and eliminated him from Heisman Trophy consideration. Because remember, Mississippi State was in the first ever poll. Mississippi State was all over that poll. They were the number one team, and then they played the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss, and you saw hide nor hair nor ass of Dak Trash Scott. And since then, he has been called by me and many others Dak Trash Scott. There is nothing there, and the biggest problem I see for the Cowboys is the biggest problem I see for every other team in the NFC. Who's going to carry the ball?
Yeah, who's going to carry the ball? And then I think the biggest problem for the Cowboys is they lost Kellen Moore.
Yep.
That's the biggest problem.
Their offensive
it's the biggest problem for the Cowboys, and it's the biggest boon for the Chargers.
Yes. Maybe they'll have some better blocking schemes for the San Diego Chargers. I hope so.
I can promise you only pretty much one thing about the Chargers this year. Austin Eckler will not catch triple digits in receptions.
No, he won't.
Not with Kellen Moore.
No, he won't, because that offense will be even more spread around than it was. Back to the 49ers. There's another offensive lineman that I think will really help this team. His name is Corey Luciano, 6'9", and is a wall on the offensive line. Does he get a chance to start this year?
Yeah, Luciano, I think is a little more raw even than Manning. But you're right. He's a wall. He's a monster. He reminds me of some of the great big tackles in NFL history in that way. That, like, basically the one of the I talked to you earlier about Colin Cowherd. One of the things he called Arvydas Sabonis was a human refrigerator. That's pretty much Luciano.
Yes.
You can't move him. You ever try to move a fridge quickly?
Nope.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not easy at all. It takes so much of your strength, and by the time you move the damn thing, you just want to move it back.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I have to like shimmy it side to side.
Yes, that's how I have to move it. That's how I have to move it. And you're not going to move Luciano. You're not going to move Manning.
No,
you're not going to move Manning at all. You're certainly not going to move Trent Williams.
No, yeah, and that's right. The Williams thing. I mean, he's close to retirement. The Niners have a make or break year this year. And if Purdy can stay upright and stay healthy, and even to an extent with Darnold, even like, let me put it this way: even if Darnold has playoff success, he's still not the guy. Purdy is the
No,
guy.
Purdy's the guy.
Purdy's
I mean, when Purdy was unleashed on Tampa Bay, I immediately said to my wife Jody, who helped me make my notes for the next day, we have found our franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
we have found our newest franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
and kudos to Jimmy Garoppolo for serving the 5 years that he did, but he's had multiple chances to be the franchise QB, and he just wasn't. Now Jimmy's on the opposite side of 30, and he's off to the Raiders, and he's going to have a horrible season because Josh McDaniels is calling the plays in Oakland.
Jesus, Josh McDaniels is a head coach. How many retread offensive coordinators are we going to see at head coach? That's just terrible. All these retread coordinators, it doesn't work. I think once you've proved that you have, when you have personnel issues, and I mean conflicts with your actual roster, would want a one-on-one. Like, look at what Eric Bieniemy is going through right now.
Oh my gosh,
that's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
Especially not in 2023. And then I heard LaShawn Shady McCoy earlier today on Fox Sports Radio, and he said basically that he's heard the same thing from other players about Bieniemy as well, that like at the end of the day, you don't get a whole lot of football instruction, and you also don't get a whole lot of love from Bieniemy. What he is a disciplined guy, and he doesn't do installs, he doesn't call plays. Okay, so he yells at you, right? I mean, he's a drill sergeant then. Cool.
Yeah.
And see, hearing what I know now about Bieniemy, I just can't believe that he was this paraded around head coaching candidate for how long he was.
It's going to be trouble in Redskins camp all year. And plus, there's a curious case of Chase Young. Yeah. There is the very curious case of Chase Young.
Yeah.
Tell me how the hell that's going to work out.
A lot of people just call me an Ohio State hater, and to a large extent I am. But I'll tell you, there is an inconsistent motor in that young man.
There is,
and there has been since Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
They're just when an edge rusher takes plays off, you can see it.
Yes, you can.
And I'm not afraid to call a spade a spade. He takes plays off.
He's always taking plays off.
Yeah.
Hell, he took plays off at Ohio State.
Look, I knew J.J. Watt was going to be a monster in the NFL when I saw him at Camp Randall. I knew it. You've got a giant human who runs at 100 miles an hour in his
and he always ran at it. And he always ran at 100 miles an hour. That was the greatest thing about J.J. Watt. Yeah. He always ran at 100 miles an hour.
All gas, no brakes. And I knew it. You just knew it. Same thing, Aiden Hutchinson. All gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes.
Boom. He's getting it done.
Yep.
Bruce Smith.
Oh man, Bruce Smith.
All gas.
Bruce Smith. Charles Haley. Charles Haley.
Yeah, Javon Curse, right?
Javon Curse.
All gas, no
Dwight
break.
Freeney. All gas, no break. Nick Bosa, who is going to get a monster contract from our 49ers. All gas, no break.
And earn every penny.
He's earned every penny since he's been in a 49er uniform.
Absolutely.
And we know, and people are afraid that this holdout's going to stop the progress of Nick. No, it won't.
That doesn't
happen. They're trying to work out the best deal so they can get him paid like the superstar that he is.
Yeah.
They're just trying to settle on a number. That's it.
And it's tough. This is a salary cap league. And if you look at the contracts the 49ers have, they're paying a lot of money for these players.
Yeah, they are.
Making a lot of money. They're fortunate to have the quarterback situation they do. Very fortunate.
They're very fortunate.
I don't think people realize this. I hear a lot of comments about Trey Lance still, and like, well, isn't that a big mistake to whiff on that? No. People whiff on high draft pick quarterbacks all the time. In fact, most high draft pick quarterbacks are whiffs.
Ryan Leaf, hello.
Most.
Yes.
And so when you also have a 7th round pick with that slotted salary, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
It doesn't matter. And and when you bring up like the Bosa contract, that's what I'm saying is it's tough because you've got so many other guys that you're paying. Travarius Ward is making a ton of money.
Yes.
A ton of money.
And at the tail end of the season, Moody Ward came on strong. Very strong in that secondary.
He's great, and I think he lifts up the rest of that secondary as well.
Yeah, he
I
does.
mean, you look at young players like DeMondre Lenore and stuff. He's vital to that team. Vital.
He is very much so.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the money. I'm saying he's making a lot, and that's
Yeah.
You got Fred Warner making a lot. You know what I mean? You got Trent Williams making a lot. You got McCaffrey making a lot. There's a lot of money going around, and that's what they're dealing with now. But they will get it done, and he'll deserve it.
And the greatest thing is the first thing that they did for Christian McCaffrey is extend him.
Yep.
When he arrived in San Francisco, like, oh, you ain't getting away. And McCaffrey's not going to get away for a long time.
Yep, he's not. Well, and furthermore, I just wish the running backs would quit their bitching because look, who gets paid? The guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Hello.
Exactly.
The guys that you can flex into the slot. Those guys.
You know what the greatest thing is? You didn't hear one word from Christian McCaffrey. You didn't hear one word from Eli Mitchell.
Yep.
Because they're settled. They know what they know what they are, and they know what they mean to their team.
They're good. Yeah, exactly. They're good. Like, I just don't get it. You know when you need a bell cow running back when you're not sure about your quarterback.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's when you need a bell. That's when you need a bell cow running back. And I hate to say this, there ain't many bell cow running backs anymore. And then I bring up the point, and you've heard me do it on the show. I bring up the point. Well, we got 2 of them in Frisco, and they're going, okay, who's going to block for them? They either come with that, or they come with, oh, they're not tough enough. Oh yeah, check out Christian McCaffrey in this version of the West Coast offense that was started, thank you very much, by the godfather of the West Coast offense, Mr. Bill Walsh.
Yeah, exactly. That is so inspiring too to see Shanahan run a modified version of the West Coast offense there in San Francisco. See, I'm a huge believer in sports that when your team wins with an identity and it does it for, let's say, either the first time or a long period, you're locked into that identity.
What have the 49ers been locked into offensively since 81?
That West Coast.
That West Coast offense. And
even Harbaugh with a run-heavy West Coast was a West Coast offense.
That's the thing about the West Coast offense. I say this all the time. What people don't understand about the West Coast offense, it is predicated on running the football. It's predicated on running the football. Roger Craig, hello. Ricky Waters, hello.
Ricky Waters.
Running Waters.
Hell yeah.
All right. It's predicated on running the football.
Yes, sir.
Everybody who knows me or knows of me, Roger Craig was my guy.
Yeah.
And he should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago.
I agree.
If you can celebrate 1,000 season for Christian McCaffrey, if you can celebrate it with a Hall of Fame induction for Marshall Faulk, why don't you celebrate it for the guy who did it first?
Right.
That stat alone should get him a bust in the Hall of Fame.
You're exactly right. Craig should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. And you're right. You're right too about it starts with the run. In fact, I would argue that the whole adage that's been around since late 80s and the 90s of run the ball to set up the pass.
Yes.
From Bill Walsh.
That's from Bill Walsh. Thank you. And the coordinators we've had, the two of the best coordinators we've had that became coaches. I don't know, Mike Holmgren. I don't know, Mike Shanahan, perhaps. Because Mike Shanahan was Steve Young's coordinator, and Mike Shanahan got in his ass about being a pocket passer and scramble second. And Steve Young figured it out.
Steve Young is really an amazing story. If you ever get a chance, he's got a great biography out there. When he's sitting behind Jim McMahon at BYU, barely making the team, 4th on the depth chart.
Yep.
Oh God, it's a great, and didn't even know that he was the great grandson of Brigham Young himself until he was 2 years into the university.
Man. Super Bowl 29 when Steve Young was introduced, I got chills. I mean, I got chills every time I saw Joe Montana introduced to the Super Bowl.
And they beat the pants off the Chargers.
They beat the daylights out of the Chargers. Listen, when you score a minute 24 into the game is over. On the biggest stage.
Yeah. That defense too. I mean, that defense was
that defense was a monster.
Ken Norton, Bryant Young.
Yes.
Doublefield. Oof.
Left to right, man. I was living in North Carolina at the time, and I was at a friend's place, and we were making our snacks, and the game had started. We saw the introductions. The game had started, and people at the place were asking me, who you picking? I'm picking the 49ers.
Yeah.
That's my squad. That's my team.
Yeah.
Oh, don't you think the Chargers will give him a game? Hell no, I don't think they'll give him a game.
Stan
They
the
don't
Man
have a
Humphreys.
Like, they don't have a chance in hell.
And who? I forgive me for forgetting. Who was the running back that Chargers team had?
Natron Means.
Natron Means. Yes.
Natron Means.
Yes.
Natron
Love
Means. And I'm just thinking, you fool! Like, you actually gonna believe that they have a chance at this?
Yeah.
Well, and we were just debating and arguing back and forth, and so, well, what about Natron Means? We got Ricky Waters,
right?
Oh, what's the difference between Natron Means and Ricky Waters? Ricky Waters can catch the ball.
Right. Ricky Waters is a fourth receiver when he needs to be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You
Ricky
know
Waters
who else
allows them to run the shotgun efficiently.
Exactly. Listen, I will say I will also make this advocation, and then we'll go and then we'll get on out of here. You know who else should be from that 49er team? Those 49ers legendary teams should also be in the Hall of Fame besides Roger Craig. John Taylor.
Yes, John Taylor.
John Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't he celebrated?
John Taylor, yeah, absolutely should. I mean, what a dynamic receiver! Like, yeah. Jerry Rice drew a double team, but
listen, Jerry Rice is a legend. Jerry Rice is legendary, but you also have another legend on the opposite side in John Taylor.
Yeah.
If you can get John Stallworth into the Hall of Fame, who was the number 2 receiver beside Lynn Swann, why can't you do the same for John Taylor?
I agree.
It's we'll save that for next time. Alex Campbell joining me from the Fired Up Network. And the next time I have him on, we're going to talk all 49ers and why John Taylor and Roger Craig should be in the Hall of Fame, period.
That's right.
Because if we do that now, it'll be an extra hour at least.
Yeah,
Thank you, Alex.
It won't
stop. I appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alex Campbell joining me, and we're going to get on out of here. Join me tomorrow for a special 2-hour edition of the Brian Snow Show, where you'll hear a replay of an interview I had with the Frost Father himself, Aaron Sanders, and also the lovely Annie Del Rey. You'll hear the conversation, plus the difficulty that we had with technology. That is tomorrow. For now, I am out of here. Have a great one. God bless y'all, and I'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Thanks, everybody.
Where sport. Thank you for tuning into The Brian Snow Show, where sports is the base, life and fun are the results.